After 20 years of having a headache every day, I don't have a headache anymore. That is what one of my clients said to me recently, and it was just the most amazing thing for me to hear that. So today I'm going to tell you all about what causes migraine style headaches that not many people know about, and it's this one particular muscle in the body that can actually refer pain and cause migraines. I'm going to tell you all about it, where to find it on yourself, how to know if this might be part of your problem if you experience migraines, because this client that had problems for 20 years, we resolved it really simply by treating this muscle. And if that's your problem, then I want you to know about it as well. So my name is Ellie Lindsay. I'm a massage therapist. I specialise in treating headaches, both in my clinic here in Southsea and also online through my online course. So this client that was getting migraines every day for 20 years, his name was Ben, and there really wasn't a time when he could remember not having a migraine, which is just crazy really when you think of living with migraines for all of that time, and it affected his life so much. So the main thing that we worked on together, he actually came in my clinic and he also worked on this at home himself as well, is the muscle that I'm going to tell you all about, and it is called the sternocleidomastoid. So that's quite a mouthful, so most people shorten it to SCM. So let me tell you about where this muscle is first of all, and then we'll go on to talk a little bit about what sort of problems this muscle can cause. So the SCM muscle, I'm just going to show you a picture of it in my textbook here, but hopefully you can kind of see okay. There. So it's that red mark. Excuse my bad editing, but I'm not very good at video editing, so I'd rather just get up and show you the picture rather than having to do something fancy. Maybe one day I'll learn how to do it fancy style and clip to it. But anyway, the SCM, so as you can see in that picture, hopefully, it actually lives at the side of your neck. So if you have a feel around on yourself, just find your ear, it's pretty easy, right? And then go behind your ear, and you've kind of got this like lumpy bit of your skull at the back of your ear here, and it feels a bit sort of lumpy and bumpy, and yeah, you're in the right place. If you're there, you're in the right place. So one attachment point of the SCM is here. Next I'm going to show you where the other one is, and then we'll have a feel around for the muscle in between. So the other point is down, if you come down and find your sternum, so your breastbone here, and then come up, and whichever side you want, slightly to the left or slightly to the right, have a feel around at the top of your breastbone. So you can sort of like come up and over like this. And that's where the SCM attaches at the bottom here. It also attaches to the clavicle, so that's your collarbone. But just to keep it simple, we'll just think about this attachment point here onto your sternum. So now what I'd like you to do is just pick a side, left or right. So which side is the worst for you in terms of headaches and migraines? If neither are worse, if they're both the same, then just pick one random, left or right. Then what you're going to do is get your fingers, and you're going to come just behind the ear to that place that I just told you about, that sort of lumpy skull bit. And then you're going to head in the direction of your breastbone, the sternum that we just found, and you're just going to drag your fingers through that, just like this. Just drag your fingers along your neck. Now that path that you're making with your fingers, that is the SCM, the sternocleidomastoid. So just do that a few times, and then you'll just get really used to where the muscle is, and this will make the next bit a bit easier. So now you know where it is, I'm going to be, this is quite advanced, but let's give it a go. I'd like you to have a go at just giving it a squeeze. So the first thing you need to know before you do this is that the SCM muscle feels kind of a bit like a rope, and some people say that when they find it on themselves, they're like, oh, I thought that was a ligament or a bone or something. I can't believe it's a muscle. Because especially if you have problems here and it's sort of quite tight and restricted, it can feel like really hard, but I promise you, this is not a bone, it is a muscle. So just have a go at taking your thumb and your finger on the same side as you're working. So I'm on my left and I've got my left thumb and my left finger. And just have a feel around there and see if you can find something that you can squeeze. So here, I can squeeze mine right here. And do you see, you can kind of see that lumpy bit there, that rope-like structure that I've got between my fingers. And I can do the same up here and it gets a bit thicker. And now I've got this between my fingers, my finger and my thumb. And then a little bit more tricky, but you can even come down here and give it a squeeze as well. You can see that even mine's quite, okay, but you can see that my thumb and my finger just sort of slide off a little bit there. So give that a go for yourself. And what I'd really like you to do is just give it a squeeze and then hold on to it for about 20 seconds and see how it feels. Does it feel tender? Does it feel really hard? If it does, then there's sort of an indication that it could be part of your problem. And we're going to move on to step 2, which is just be giving you some information about the problem that this muscle causes. And then perhaps you can put 2 and 2 together, whether you feel as if from step 1, squeezing it and finding it on yourself, it feels tender. And step 2, you have some of these symptoms, then you might be able to put those things together and work out that the SCM is part of your problem. So the SCM causes usually symptoms on one side, but it can be both. So if it's going to be causing problems on one side, I'm going to show you another picture here. So I'm going to show you this one, so ignore that one at the top. This picture here. You see all of those red marks? That is all of the pain that the SCM can cause. So I'll get back to the mic so you can hear me better. So the SCM can cause a headache that comes up and above the eyebrow. That's quite common. A headache across the forehead, or a headache at the back of the head here, the base of the skull kind of area. So if you have any migraines that feel like that, I'm using headache and migraine interchangeably because this muscle can actually create a headache that feels exactly like a migraine, and you can even get the visual disturbances and the nausea and things like that the same as what you can with a migraine. That is what many of my clients have experienced, including Ben, who I told you about earlier with his long-term headaches. So I'm using those two, although I know that the sort of medical definition of headache and migraine is different. For me, in my clinic, many people present with symptoms of what would be classed as a migraine, and it's actually coming from these sort of muscles in the same way that headaches do. So that's why I just use those terms interchangeably. But I would say most people who suffer with this sort of pain describe it as a migraine rather than a headache. So if that's you and you feel as if that area feels a bit tender, then it could well be that the SCM is causing your problems. So let me just go over that pain pattern again. So a pain just coming up and around your eyebrow here, pain across the forehead, so a headache that goes across the forehead, or, so it's not all of these, it's one of them, or pain that just sits at the back here, sort of behind your ear towards the base of the skull. And of course you could have problems with both SCMs. So you could have, if you're very unfortunate, you could have interchangeable. Sometimes I've had that actually in my clinic here where clients have interchangeable headaches. So sometimes it's the left and sometimes it's the right. And that often it's the SCM that's the case. You know, they've got problems with both basically, and depending on what day it is and sort of random factors, one of them decides to present as a headache and the next day is the next one. So the reason why the SCM can have problems is often to do with posture and stress are the two main factors. So this muscle has to work really, really hard if our head is in that forwards head posture, because it is overstretched from our head having to come forward. And it has to also do a lot of the work of holding the head up rather than that weight being dispersed through the spine. So often this muscle gets overworked. It gets these problems called trigger points in the muscle, which will be what you're feeling if it feels quite tender. And those trigger points are what causes this pain pattern that I've just shown you here. That red pain pattern and the migraine style symptoms. So if you feel like this could be you, then I have a really great guide on how to help yourself to relieve muscle tension, including this muscle here. And if you'd like it for free, then I'll just put a link in the description. It's focused on the muscles that cause headaches. So if you'd like that, then just follow the link in the description and you can get that free guide.